Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Scaling Smarter. We're excited to be here. We've missed the last couple of weeks. All good things. We've got some good things going on that we're planning to get together. But we are back with another guest today. But before I do that, just want to say, hey Frank, how's everything going?
It's going great, Ali. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited. We had like you said, we had a couple of weeks off, but we have a good number of guests coming up, and starting off with Jamie today, and we're looking forward to learning more. So, Jamie, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's so great. Glad to be able to have you on. If you notice, I did. So our show is called Scaling Smarter. So today's topic is called Posting Smarter. I wanted to be able to bring that in from one of the posts that you had made about social media and how it's not so much about just doing more and posting more, but really about making sure that you are dialed in on, your messaging, your audience, and so many other things. But before we get into that, would love for you to just tell us a story of how you got started and what is a business like today?
Yeah, thank you so much. So like many small business owners, I actually had a non-traditional path where I didn't start out in this industry, kind of found my way here by certain life choices that have, taken me on this path. I taught middle school English for a little over 10 years in Bergen County, New Jersey. Yeah. And loved my sixth graders dearly, and ended up moving out to Morris County, where I currently reside with my family. So I was a stay-at-home mom for a few years, looking for some nonprofit type work. I was doing a lot of volunteering in the schools, and then eventually wanted to get back into the workforce, which landed me into a social media management role with Officially Social. Nice. And so I started that in about 2018, worked all through the pandemic, having our third child. It allowed me the flexibility to be both with my family, but also earning some income and really tending to my creative side, particularly in copywriting and creating content. And so I really loved connecting with small to mid-sized business owners, learning their story, getting an opportunity to tell their brand to potential customers and clients. And I did that until the last couple years, when the owner of Officially Social at the time, Allison Lukin, decided that she wanted to segue into a different role. And so she presented me the opportunity to take over the business. And full disclosure, at first I was like, I don't know about this, right? Like there's a lot to learn. But it was such an incredible opportunity. And we still work collaboratively today on lots of different projects. And so it's really just become full circle. We are an all-female owned and operated team. So now what she did for me, I'm able to do for other women. Nice. And it's just really been a great experience.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, you were telling us about the full circle moment before we went live.
Yeah. So Allison and her friend Kim, her business partner, are now editors at Eastern Morris City Lifestyle and Greater Morristown City Lifestyle. And we are actually helping them with their social media management. So it's been great. I see her at a lot of networking events. Yeah. We're still able to connect. We maintain a great both working relationship and friendship. So it's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Women supporting women, which we're all about.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jim, when you work, you talked about getting to know a company's, their mission and their strategy. So what are some of the questions, like what's an initial conversation like when you meet with a business owner?
Yeah. So the first thing that we want to know is, what are they currently doing in terms of any marketing or social media strategy? And what are their goals? What are they looking to do? And what I hope is that they're not feeling like too much pressure for instant sales. Because when someone comes in and says, I want the phone to ring, or I want more, of course, I completely understand that. But social media, especially organic growth, doesn't always go from 0 to 100. In fact, it really never goes that way. And so I always tell people it's better to start posting before you're really ready. And most likely you have a lot more content at your fingertips than you think that you do. And so that would be my one suggestion for business owners, is to not wait until you're feeling that pressure point to post, because it takes a while to develop community and trust and authenticity online. And if you throw too much at people too fast, I think that it comes across as, people feel that, not necessarily inauthentic, but they feel that push. And I don't think it always resonates. Social media is meant to be social. It is meant to feel a little bit relaxed, although of course for businesses, there is a structured approach as well. And so I would say that's kind of our starting point. And then from there, we really deep dive into learning their brand and particularly their voice, because our clients are really handing us over full access to their social media channels. And so we are writing content and copy as if we are them. And so obviously, we work with over 30 small businesses. Each one has a different set of needs, a different set of values, a different price point and demographic for their audience, and a mission that they're trying to accomplish. And so we spend a lot of time really understanding how they would reply to someone and how they would communicate with their audience. Because at the end of the day, we don't really share who we're working with, not for any privacy reasons, but I think it loses a little bit of its appeal if you know that someone is outsourcing their social media and the social media manager is responding instead of.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And we have some lovely clients who refer us and will say that they're using us, and we are so appreciative. It's just not something that I typically share on our social media or our website for that reason.
So you mentioned before, like, the different channels. So do you find some channels are better for certain types of businesses as opposed to others?
Yes and no. I think at this point, almost every social media channel has an advantage for every business. It's just dependent on how you use it. Does everybody need to be on TikTok? No, not necessarily. Could everybody be on TikTok? Probably, I think it depends on their comfort zone. We have therapists that are on TikTok. We have insurance agents that are on TikTok. It really depends. So I think that it's sort of a misnomer that you only have to stick to certain channels depending on your business niche. You really can share wherever you want. My personal favorite for businesses is Instagram still. I just think that it has the most traffic. I think it's the easiest to grow your audience on. It's kind of a give and take, where if you follow someone, they're likely to follow you back. Whereas unlike a Facebook business page, you need to invite people to follow. It's just a little bit harder to grow your audience, but doesn't mean that it's not possible.
Yep.
So I think everyone, regardless, should really be on Instagram to start. That would be my recommendation. Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, at least like one or two of the Meta platforms in general, if you plan to use any particular one of them, right?
Yeah, and then obviously for video content, and I tell clients too, I just had this conversation with someone. If you're producing video, then why not post it on YouTube or TikTok as well? Your messaging doesn't have to change a whole lot. And I think TikTok has this misconception that it's only like viral, trendy type content, but that's just one audience sector. There are so many business owners sharing their stories on TikTok. And it really is a great place, especially if you're not comfortable speaking in front of the camera or making video content, to kind of experiment, because yes, it lives in your feed, but also things are so short-lived and people are just churning out content quicker than many can keep up with. So if it's not the best, or if it flops, like, that's okay too. TikTok is the best at getting content out to non-followers. So if you are looking to branch out and grow quickly to a larger audience that's not currently following you, I would say TikTok is where you want to be.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you said that, because I have often tried to, I do business consulting now. I've stepped
Mhm.
away from the marketing and a lot of that stuff. But I still, give that advice every once in a while. But when I come across clients and they're asking questions of like how to grow, how to get stuff out there, and they want to do social media, but they don't want to get on camera, and they're so afraid, like they want to get it right, and they hate the way that they look, and all the different excuses that I'm sure that you hear or have heard on a daily basis. What how do you handle those types of challenges where the business knows they need to be doing video, they know they need to be getting out there, but they're just not sure like how to start or where to start?
That's a great question. Well, first, I can speak from experience as both a social media manager and a business owner. I do not like speaking on camera. If you go to the Officially Social Instagram page,
Mhm.
there are very few videos and photos of me. So it's like the expression, like those can't do teach, but it's sort of like I'm telling my clients to do something that I am not putting into practice, which is probably breaking all of the rules that I should, but it's something that I'm working on, right? We all have something we're working on.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're here today, so I mean, that's
It's
a
a big
perfect
step for me.
opportunity.
This is a big step.
Step in the right direction. There you go.
Thank you. So I would say that if you are not comfortable speaking on camera or doing video, there are tons of ways around it. We have clients who primarily send us photography, or we have clients who don't send us any assets at all, and we create for them. We don't use a whole lot of AI features. We haven't really gotten into that sector yet, not because I don't think there's a place for it. It's just not our business model at this point. But everyone has B-roll footage on their phones, right? So whether it's you walking down the street, whether it's a quick snapshot you took of the ocean on vacation or when you were traveling, whether it's behind the scenes of your office or a project you were working on, you do not need to be on camera to create good content. And in fact, we have plenty of clients who show their work without showing their faces. You don't need to walk us through and narrate what you're doing. Like, there are plenty of workarounds that we can make happen. So if anyone is feeling that that is holding them back, I would say don't let it.
Yeah. I'm going to clip this and send it out to every single person that I've had that conversation with.
Yeah. And I would also say too, like, let's not forget that it's not just video content that is doing well right now. Yes, obviously, if you're posting on YouTube and TikTok, but for anyone that's looking to grow on Instagram or Facebook, carousels are really exceeding sometimes in views and engagement video content right now. It's a little bit of a slower build over time. So if you're looking for that quick fix, you might not see those numbers right away. But if you go and look back a month later, a lot of times you'll see that a carousel has sometimes exceeded views and engagement because people want to slow down. Video moves so fast. And when you are trying to convey something informational or educational about your business or your brand, you want people to save it and to be able to process it. And I just think sometimes video goes too quickly for some.
Yeah. Well, because it's like sorry, Frank, I'll let you get
it. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's so much of the advice is you got to hook people in the first 3 seconds. You got to get the scroll stopping, piece. And I think we've just we've overdone it.
There is so much noise out there. And if I listened to everything that everyone told me to do or not do, and I tried to convey that to my clients, I would never sleep. And I would be like a nervous wreck all the time. And you would really have no strategy because you would always be changing it. And I think at the end of the day, there is something to be said for staying true to yourself and just maintaining consistency. Another thing I tell small business owners, you don't need to go viral, right? Like that's great, but you're not an influencer, assuming you're not, right? You are trying to create community and a visual portfolio of what it is that you do. Because a lot of times people are going to social media before they're even going to Google. So if they look at your page, what are they going to see? Do you have samples of your work or testimonials or video or whatever it is that shows that you are a current modern business? That's what you need. And that does not require a ton of trendy videos and reels and hooks. And, that just requires posting weekly. Does not mean you have to post daily. Mm-hmm. And it means just showing up for your audience in a way that they can anticipate and expect.
So when you're posting, right, is it like a lot of times folks are looking to be a industry expert, right? Or they're looking to actually demonstrate their knowledge. And I've heard that that's a better way. Like, the goal isn't to just kind of, $99 sale for this. It's more about this is who I am. You can trust me. You can lean on me. This is the value that I bring. How do you get that out when you're writing the content? Or sometimes, how are you getting that out of the clients?
Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, which is why I spend a lot of time trying to think of what they would say. I really have to get into their heads, to be honest with you. And I will tell you that networking has been really great in terms of not only from a business perspective, but also just understanding how business owners in certain industries communicate with each other. Because I see social media as, and Frank, I know you go to networking meetings as well. I see that as an extension of social media, exactly what we're doing at events and connecting with other business owners. And it doesn't matter whether you're a B2B business or not. Consider that an approach that you want to take in how you're communicating with people. And I think that if you can do that and kind of carry it over, it will benefit you. Obviously, AI has taken over copywriting a little bit. Yeah. And now people are kind of undoing that and trying to get themselves to not sound like AI, which is interesting. I think it's the English teacher in me that really just enjoys writing and crafting captions that will generate with the audiences that we're trying to reach and will sound like the people that we are representing.
What's so do you have not naming names, but a success story of a group that came in that was lost and you're able to help them find their voice?
Well, I wouldn't say that all of our clients come in lost, but usually when they come to us, they're at the point where they are looking for some serious social media help. And to be honest, those are the clients that we enjoy working with the most. We have clients that have 500 followers and do very well because even with a smaller subset, those 500 followers are really honed in on what that person is saying and their business. We have clients that have 15,000 followers. We have a nonprofit that has over 100,000 followers. It all depends. But at the end of the day, the mission kind of remains the same. You have to give your audience what it is that they want, And so for me, my greatest success, and I would say, I'm not saying that this happens with every account because it certainly doesn't, but my greatest success is at the end of the month when I see those analytics reports comes in, things are in green, right? Things are moving in an upward trend. We can't really gauge a return on investment on organic social content. There's just no way. And I'm very forthright. And I tell clients that up front, that's a question that we get a lot. What's the return on my investment? I wish that I could do that. I can't even say that clicks to your website or external link taps generate any kind of idea of a return on investment. Yes, they give us a good sign, but my husband says this sometimes. It's like, you don't really look at refrigerators until you need a new refrigerator, right? It's kind of the same thing with a lot of businesses. Someone might not be liking your content or sharing your content or commenting on what it is that you're doing until it's a need that they have for your business or your service. But then when they do, they're all in, right? Then they're saving it, they're sharing it with a friend. But does that mean that you shouldn't show up anyway? Of course not. So I would say that my greatest success comes from growth of accounts, seeing engagement, over time, seeing content go out to non-followers, because that means that it's really resonating with a larger audience. And then of course we always appreciate referrals. That's really a sign that we're doing good work and people trust us enough to refer us to, other business owners.
Yeah. I love what you just said about, how people aren't always liking, commenting, engaging or whatnot until there's a very real need. Because I feel like there's been this narrative that's been pushed lately in terms of, well, if people are following your content and they're not engaging with it or liking you with it, then they're secretly haters and you should get rid of them. And I'm like, but that's not that's weird, because for me, and this literally happened last night. I went out dancing and someone who hasn't commented or liked or engaged with my content in quite a while, asked me about a trip to Montreal to do a performance. So it's like, I know that they're watching. I know that people are seeing this stuff because I hear the comments when I'm in person with them, like, oh, that thing that you posted the other day was really good.
Yep.
Right. And I think it's just weird that people get upset because they're not getting the likes.
Right. I mean, listen, we want likes, right? We like likes because likes drive engagement and views, and it kind of keeps the algorithm in our favor. So of course, but that is so typical, right? That people are seeing it. I mean, we are inundated with content and stuff on a daily basis. And if you think about how you are using social media personally, I would say the same rules apply to business, right? I scroll through all the time my personal feed. It takes a lot for me to stop and like and comment on something.
Yeah.
If I had the magic pill to say that every post was going to make someone stop or comment, I mean, that would be amazing. But it doesn't work that way. And nor should every piece of content that you create as a business owner be made with that intent either, because then I think your page would end up looking way too trendy. And I almost want to say like thirsty in a way, and it would be inauthentic. So I feel like every piece of content has a place. And I will also say, and this is something we tell clients, no matter how great the content is that we create, if you are willing to share something personal about yourself, whether it be, and I know everybody has different avenues about mixing, personal and business, but whether it's a family success story, like if you're, if a child graduates high school or college, or maybe a picture from a family trip, even if you don't see everybody's faces, if you're not comfortable sharing that, or a personal struggle, or a personal accolade, or success story. Exactly. Those are always going to do better than anything that we create. And that doesn't mean that what we're creating doesn't have value and that you shouldn't hire a social media manager. That just means that your audience is also craving some authenticity and realness and connection too. So we love nothing more than when we can handle social media for a business, but then the business owner is also involved some way and willing to either share content on their own behalf or pass things to us that we can share that are a little bit more on the personal side. And I don't even mean weekly. I mean once a month is great. So
it's funny. You said something about, you don't need to necessarily post more. You just need to have your message be different. Right? Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
So I think that we all get caught up in the cycle, right? This content loop, right? The title of today's talk. And you're going to go on TikTok or you're going to go on Instagram and they're going to tell you how many days a week you should be posting and what you should be doing and what time you should be posting. And if you're not posting 5 days a week, well, then you're behind. And you start to feel like, well, maybe I should be posting on the weekends, but my kid's got a t-ball game and now I'm feeling the pressure. And then what ends up happening, right? We know people freeze and they just don't post at all because it's just overwhelming and it's exhausting and way too much. So yes, I do feel like there is something to be said for posting smarter, right? Work smarter, not harder.
Mhm.
And there are some workarounds that business owners can utilize to help them. If people, I mean, this is what we do, so I guess I'm giving away some tidbits, but that's okay. If you can get comfortable with edits or CapCut, right? There are some really great pre-made templates, and you can see kind of what's trending, or just what you like and or would appeal to your audience. And you can just plug in video clips, and the music and the timing and the captions are already done for you. Would I recommend doing that every time? Not necessarily, but that's a good way to test the waters. If you are trying to do this independently, maybe it's not in your budget to hire someone to handle your social media, but you just want to get something out there. You know, gone are the days where you have to take a video and start from scratch. Like, you don't really need to be doing that. Same thing with Canva. If you can learn Canva even a little bit, there are some really great templates that you can rework in your favor, and they'll automatically change it to your branding. You can include your logo, your font. You will see businesses now using AI, right? We see these flyers, they're everywhere. They all have the same font. They have the same look to them. I actually can't believe, really, and I'm sure maybe you both would agree with me, in the last few weeks even, I mean, I am seeing them more and more on accounts that traditionally did not use them. And I think one of the reasons is because people feel the need to keep up. They feel the need to keep posting.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I will go into Canva, and it will take me sometimes quite a while to create one of those beautiful carousels that you see, right? With the different photos and the text overlay. It's a lot of work. That's why we do what we do. We enjoy it. Well, we mostly enjoy it. Sometimes we get a little frustrated. You know what I mean? But we enjoy the work. If you take that creative piece out of it and you're just looking to churn content, then you can easily plug that into Claude or whatever. Give them your parameters, and they will give you something.
Yeah.
That's fine. But the problem is that it's going to look like what everybody else is doing, and it's very noticeable. And I actually just had this conversation with someone yesterday. I'm starting to see now, which is very new, that if you have something that's originally created as your post, let's say like photos or a carousel, but your caption is AI generated, whether like in app or whatever, sometimes Instagram particularly will pick up on it, and it will say AI info in the tagline. And that's really a shame for people that are utilizing it, because I think there's going to be a lot of backlash, you know?
Yeah, I have I have definitely been noticing that. I have the same complaints and thoughts about all of the AI flyers, but even with some of the content and the copy that's being generated, you know, just seeing some word choices. I mean, AI can pry the Oxford comma and the M dash from my cold dead and rotting hands, but
I do love the M dash still.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I can't use it.
No, I'm gonna resist. I'm holding on.
Yeah.
But it's like you can tell like certain phrases and things are being used and how it's being done, you know, with the captions. But yeah, with these AI flyers, it's like I can't tell the difference between yours and the 10 others that were just posted on my social media feed, even if it's different colors or the different logo.
100%. And listen, I get it. As an agency owner and just a small business, you know, owner trying to create content for myself too. Like, I totally get it. And I'm not saying not to do it. Right. I'm just saying that there are other ways that we would recommend trying first, that I think you can create content that will resonate with your audience more. And I think that the captions all have the same kind of cadence. It's almost like a poetry kind of sound. And once you hear it, you can't unhear it. It's very hard. And so now we have clients that sometimes will say, well, I want this long form caption like X, Y, and Z. And the thing is, nobody really did that before. But now with AI, they're churning out these very long copies. And there's a time and place for them. You know, I don't know if everybody is always reading to the bottom of these paragraphs necessarily. You know, there used to be something to be said for like viewing time on a post and how it would help your engagement. So you wanted longer captions because you wanted people to stay on your post longer. And while that is still true, I think people are just so like, oh, I don't want to read another like 5 paragraphs. And so then they just skip and they don't read anything. So there's a sweet spot between too much and too little.
Jamie, this might be a silly question, but like engagement goes both ways, right? It goes from you producing content, but also you interacting with other people's content. Do you ever interact on other people's content on behalf of your clients?
That's a great question.
Great question.
Yeah, great question, Frank. So no silly questions, first of all, and that is a great one, by the way. So we are a true social media management agency, and I am very careful to explain the difference between that and maybe other agency owners, or telling people that we are just content creators, because we create content, but we don't typically go on site for our clients. They send us their assets and then we polish them up for social media. We don't ever, I mean, if they send us a professional video, that's great, but most of our clients are just handing over B-roll footage and we're creating reels and other types of content with them. As far as the engagement goes, I feel that that is a vital component to success on social media. And so we include that in all of our packages. Not only engagement on people, whatever people are commenting, like by replying to, you know, things that are said on their own channels, but looking for similar businesses or people in their demographics and finding those accounts and then engaging and interacting with those. Because exactly like you said, social media is kind of like a dinner party, right? Like you don't want to just sit and be talked at the entire time. You want the chance for it to go both ways. And so that is something that we do for all of our clients. And I do think that it makes a big difference. Same thing with sharing to stories. You know, our packages used to be very heavily based on in-feed content, but now we've sort of switched that and it's less in-feed content per month and more stories and engagement per month. Because I look at your grid, like your visual portfolio, but then sharing to stories, if not daily, every other day, let's say, or at least, you know, a couple times a week, depending on what their budget is. That's like that little tap on the shoulder that reminds people that you're still there. And a lot of people don't even scroll the feed anymore. They just swipe and look at stories because we're busy and we're doing it on the fly. And so how people consume social media is constantly changing. So I think you need to be doing both.
I'm a small business owner. Should I have a business account or should I have my own personal account, be my own account being the one that you're messaging from?
So if you're working with us, or my advice in for anybody would be, you need to have a business page for multiple reasons, privacy being one. You also can't run paid ads or boosting or things like that from a personal page the same way that you can as a business. And then we post a lot from the apps for our clients, but we do also use a scheduler as a way to kind of keep track of everything. And it allows us to write captions ahead of time. It keeps track of analytics, all that kind of stuff. So we use a program called 𝗲𝗄𝗿. There's lots of different ones out there, Social Pilot, etc. But in order to connect any accounts, you need to start from a Facebook business page. That's kind of where everything begins. However, you do not need to be using your Facebook business page necessarily. So don't, if you're not using it, that's okay, but you need to have one as your starting point. So a lot of times we will have clients create one just for the sake of their business. You know, if they do want to, which we have this in a couple of clients currently, if they do want to maintain posting to their personal Facebook page, we'll link that through Instagram for them. Or we will invite them as a collaborator on an Instagram post, and then they can accept and it will go out that way. So there's some workarounds to it so that you can still continue sharing. Like if you've built out a huge, you know, following that way and it kind of crosses over, that's great.
Yeah. To add to that, so the way that I have my Instagram set up, I have my personal one, which just features me, which started as the personal way back in the day when Instagram was just pictures of food, that I've converted into a professional one. But then I also have my business page. They're both professional accounts. I have access to all the different feeds and things that I'm able to do. In terms of strategy, like, what do you recommend? Like, if there's another business out there who's sort of building their own professional profile, but then they also have their business attached to it, do you have any recommendations on that end?
I mean, I would say you always want to maintain. Okay, it is harder to cultivate and grow and nurture multiple channels than it is to have one main account, right? We just had a conversation with a client who is writing a book, right? And should they have a separate Instagram page for the book because they're going to be promoting it in a different way than their current business. But it is much harder to then grow and nurture. And then what if you write a second book? And what if there's a third book? And now you just have books underneath one page where you can utilize the highlight feature of Instagram if you want to start organizing things. So if you're starting out and you have a page that's doing well, we always try to work within the confines of that, as best we can.
Because there was an easier lift on that one, right?
Yeah, like we work with one client. They own a barbershop, and so the owner of the shop, he posts a lot of content to his personal Facebook page.
Yep.
That traditionally does better than his Facebook business page because it's been in existence for longer and he's got a larger audience. Yeah. But we still run ads and we still post on his business page as well. So there's kind of there's a need for everything.
Yeah.
And it's free. So, I mean, but you just want to make sure. I would suggest to anybody to consult with someone before you start setting things up. Because if you go too far rogue, it's a lot harder to backtrack. And sometimes we run into that with clients where they've set up so many sub pages, they're not even sure what's what anymore and what's connected. And that can be a little tricky. So my advice is to always ask an expert maybe before, especially if you're just generating new social channels.
And they go, Jamie, help.
A lot of times we can, but Meta is its own beast. And so, we have to, abide by those rules. And the other thing I was going to say was LinkedIn, especially, that's another area where it does matter the type of page that you're managing. If you have the ability to take a personal LinkedIn page and use it as your business page, we find that the engagement is much higher than when you have like a subset page of your business that's under your personal. I don't know, to be honest, I don't know why, but LinkedIn just does not favor those sub pages as much as they do the personal. So we run into both with clients and we work with it. But if there's a way that you can, like I took my personal LinkedIn and I utilize it for Officially Social.
Yeah.
I don't have a sub page of an Officially Social page, if that makes sense. But
yeah,
there are people that have both. There are people
and I find that it's often just so that you can have the official logo, like when you put like your work experience, like that's often the only, or I shouldn't say the only, but like one of the main benefits of setting up like that company.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. What?
It was funny. Ali and I were talking. And we're like, do we have a LinkedIn page? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I was actually able to create one. I'm like, that's great. Yeah. And then I went in, and my reason I was asking him was simply like because I wanted to add it as experience and not just have an empty, an empty like logo there. So yeah. So.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes especially if you're running like if you have multiple jobs or companies, I mean, there are certainly, if you can swing it that way, that's a great way to go. Or you can just maintain your personal page and then you don't have to turn it into like a business logo. You can just advertise your business through your personal LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, here's another question. I think oftentimes, business owners, or at least in the past, have considered social to be sort of separate from their other marketing efforts, separate from their other business endeavors. How do you approach that, or have you come across that sort of mindset when working with certain businesses?
We kind of see it that way too, and I think it's sort of like a marketing toolkit that you need different pieces to all fit together, right? And so for us, the ideal client is someone who sees the value in multiple facets of marketing and are willing to invest appropriately. And that doesn't necessarily mean like spending more money, but just making sure that everything is aligned. Your website should connect to your social media. Your social media should direct to your website. If you are doing newsletters or print advertising, whatever it might be, everything should be intertwined. And so we have clients sometimes that are paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month in Facebook ads because they think that's going to solve their marketing problem. But then they're not active on social media. So it's kind of like, to me, I see that as sort of, an uneven investment, because where are those people going once they find your Facebook ad? They're probably going to check out a Facebook page or an Instagram page. Yes, if you're directing them to the website, that's great. But then you need to maintain relationships after the transaction is done as well, right? And so having a consistent online presence is going to help you do that. Or people spend a lot of money on socials and then their website is outdated. And so we always try to connect with, another business professional that we value, their work, and advise them to even just have someone take a look. Make sure your SEO is up to date. Is your Google business profile optimized? There's a lot that goes into it. And I can also see how it's overwhelming. And you feel like you're outsourcing a lot of things and juggling a lot. And so we really try to make it as seamless as possible. And I maintain very strong working relationships with partners that I know I can turn to and that my clients can turn to should they need, that kind of expertise.
Yeah, it's definitely, it can be overwhelming, especially if you're just looking at it from like a piece by piece basis as opposed to a cohesive whole. It's definitely challenging in that regard. And I just forgot the other question I was going to ask.
No, that's okay. But like, we get that all the time. We'll have, we'll have one of our partners who does web design and they'll refer a social media client to us because what the client might really be looking for is actually not a website overhaul. They really need some social traction. And the same way where we might step in and help with some social media, but then their website's really outdated. And so that needs to be updated with pictures and descriptions and things like that reflect the current status of their business or brand. And so we'll connect them with someone. And depending on budget and funds available, not everything can always be done at once. And that's okay. And we understand that. So we I never want to work with someone that is feeling that they are overextending themselves for the sake of social media. I want them to see the value and the investment, but I also want them to be comfortable with committing to this, because if it's something that you're only willing to try for a month or two, it's like really hard to get results that are going to be long-term,
Yeah. Okay. And you just reminded me of my other question, which was, if somebody's looking to get started, what should they think about setting aside, both in terms of time and money, to really invest in social media that's going to get them a good return, or at least what should they be thinking about as a starting point?
That's hard to say. I mean, there are so many different factors to consider. We do have monthly plans, but we are also always willing to customize them. And a lot of times what one business needs is not what another one needs. And so we are very flexible in our approach. As far as time investment, here's the great thing. When you work with an agency like us, you don't really need to set aside a lot of time. Aside from the initial setup, once that's going and those connections in terms of getting your accounts linked up and getting the assets are done, you don't have to do too much from there on out. It's a very freeing feeling, I hope, for business owners to know that they can get back to doing what they do best. They can go away for the weekend. They can have the holiday with their family. They can get out and grow their business and not be worrying about posting on social media. They will know that it is handled and taken care of and tended to every day and not have that stress.
And that's the beauty of outsourcing, right? Like at the end of the day, especially for small business owners, like they're not doing it during their, the middle of the day. They're doing it when it's taking time away from why they work, right? It's taking time away from their family. It's taking time away from their hobbies, whatever it may be. And sometimes they don't, what I find with consulting is they don't necessarily see that as a cost right away until they start leveraging a consultant, and they're like, wow, I was able to go see my kids' lacrosse game without having this hanging over me. For us, it's like I was able to run payroll without being worried about, like, it's nice and it's freeing when you're able to consult like you do and help give time back to a small business owner.
It's so important. And, as a business owner myself, I see how much time goes into the daily operations of just running your business. I recently met with a bookkeeper for the first time. That's something that I am getting ready to outsource. And honestly, like, I wanted to cry when I talked to her because it felt like therapy, right? That is not my area of expertise. Am I doing it right now? Yes. Am I doing it to the best of my ability? Probably not. Actually, no, 100% not. And I had an idea of what a bookkeeper did, but until I met with her and she walked me through everything that I was like, where have you been my whole life? This is amazing. And I can't wait to get started with her. And that to me is not only, it is a financial investment, right? For sure. But it is also a time freedom investment. And so I think people really need to figure out what is sucking the most of your time, and is there someone out there that can help alleviate that for you and give you back that freedom?
Yeah. It's the idea of looking at if you look at your time and you make your time billable, right? If you look at your hours in a day and you say, all right, what am I worth? Right.
Yeah.
And then you look at the time spent on that given task. If that is a lot, if that is less than what your hourly rate would be, you're overpaying. And you have to consider saying, all right, well, does this make sense?
It's so true. Now, there are a list of things, right, that we could all outsource as business owners. And so in a perfect world, we would have someone doing all of that and life would be easier, which I know is not the reality. And I understand that when a small business owner comes to me and wants to invest in social media, a lot of times that's money coming out of their own personal earnings, right? It's different than if you're working with a larger company where they have a marketing budget set aside, which is why we value even more the relationships that we have with small business owners, because I understand that it is a commitment and it is a trust. And it means a lot that they're willing to, that they see value in this and they're willing to work with us.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, we're coming up on Jamie. This has been awesome. Yeah. And been really, really helpful. Any as we wrap up, any parting words, and where can everybody find you?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It was great talking with you guys today. Parting words would just be to start before you think you're 100% ready. So I would encourage anybody out there today to go check those camera rolls and find something that you can share that is a valuable piece of information or something entertaining or engaging for your audience, and get it out there and don't be afraid. And that is step one. And if you can do that, then the rest will follow. And if you are struggling with social media management, or you feel like you would like someone to take a look at your current strategies or platforms, we would be more than happy to help. Our website is officiallysocial.com. And we are active on multiple platforms, but you can find us on Instagram at The Real Officially Social.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been awesome.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. It was great talking with you today.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you said this is your first live. I never would have known.
Thank you. This was my first live, so thank you for welcoming me and being so kind, and I appreciate it.
No, thank you for being such a great guest, and we're gonna get everything out to you eventually. We'll post this onto YouTube, and we'll link everything in the show notes so people can find you. And yeah, just thank you for being here again.
Thank you. Enjoy this gorgeous weather today. I hope you guys can get outside for a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I'm definitely going to make
a little content while you're at it. You never know.
I'm about a mile or so from the beach, so I'm definitely going to go film some B-roll.
You got it. There you go. It'll be so easy. Yeah, perfect. I love it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, take care, everyone.
All right.
And we'll be back next week.
Yeah, but on Monday.
Oh, Monday. That's right. We will be back. Special episode on Monday with 𝗂𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗁 𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗂𝗀. So.
Yep.
Great. Well, I will be tuning in. Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right.
Take care.
Okay. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.